Hey YouTube, Vermont Prepper here. Got a lot going on right now. Putting on this 17,000 pound 24 volt Sherpa winch. These winches are pretty good. They got some really good reviews. They're out of Australia. And I'm putting it on my M1009 CUCV military blazer. And you might ask, well, how the heck are you going to put it on there? Because there's really no winch mount on the front. Well, I found this guy off of eBay that makes these things specifically for the CUCVs. And they fit, but I'll show you what I have to do to get it to fit. Basically, here's your winch mounts. And then these mounts in the back right here, they go over the bar mounts, you know, the brush guard mounts on the blazer, and I'm getting ready to show you that right now. So I had to get those bolts off, so hang on right here. I'll walk out here. And this thing was not fun because I had to drill them out as well as cut them. Broke a number of cobalt drills. Luckily, they're lifetime. So here's the drills that I used, a drill hog, and they're lifetime. And I drilled through the bolts to get them out, and I'll show you where I have to drill. So you got to take off the shackles right here, and then that part that I just showed you goes over these two on this side and these two on this side. And then you have to one of the, I guess it's a downside, I don't know, but you have to drill holes into your brush guard, but not a big deal. It's going to paint, I'm going to paint it all black, so it's not a huge deal at all. But there's a bunch of bolts. But the thing that I like about it is that there's other ones on eBay that come, you know, where you have to get them welded, and I'm not big into welding. So in Vermont here, they'll charge you an arm and a leg to do stuff. So I like the one-piece mount that I got off of eBay. So the next step is to get some bolts for the bottom right here, which are easily obtainable at Tractor Supply. And then we're going to start fitting it and drilling the rest of the holes. So stay tuned on that. It's been a project. It probably took me about 2 hours to get these bolts off. They were obviously from 1984. They've never been off, I don't think. Totally rusted. So I figured, yeah, there's no way. You can't even reach up in there. It's not somewhere where you can get with an air tool. So I just decided to go ahead and cut them off, and it was a big job cut them off. I used one of those oscillating tools with the metal cutter, as well as a sawzall with metal blades, and drilled the drills to make the head a lot weaker. So between all three of those, I got them off. I'd say all in all, it took me about 2.5 hours to do that. I'm hoping it's well worth it. I think I'll have nicer bolts in there. I'll get the grade 8 bolts, and we'll put them in through there, and it should work a lot better, and they won't rust through like the other ones. I'll even put some rubber coating on it to make sure that doesn't happen. Alright, so stay tuned for the rest of this install. Okay, here's what I was talking about. I have it fitted on there. It's not bolted on there at all. You see the holes on the bottom that I just showed you that I cut the bolts. I'm just going to have to get a bolt that goes through them. And then here's all of the bolts throughout that I need to make some drills, some holes into the brush guard here. You see right here. Okay, and there are some braces here for the corner And what's cool about those braces, you could probably put your lights right here instead of on the brush guard right here. I don't really like the lights came like that. I'm not really a big fan of them in that location. I'll tell you why, because right here, if you want to use your slave receptacle, you actually have to take this light off, which is not a huge deal. I have some quick connects on them, but it's just a pain. You know, you got to unbolt the bottom. But in any event, this looks pretty good. It's going to look pretty slick with this winch on there. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that this winch is pretty darn big, right? It's a big winch. And the problem I'm going to have is with the Fairlead in the front. The winch body goes right up to the front hole there, where I probably will not have enough room to put a bolt in there for the Fairlead. So I have to do one of two things. I might have to have it welded on, which is a possibility, or I have to find some kind of wider Fairlead that allows for maybe about 14 inches. A regular Fairlead goes, I think it's a 10-inch bolt pattern. And, you know, I haven't been able to find one yet, but I'm sure there's something out there. I'll figure something out, but I think that's a minor modification that I'll have to make. But other than that, man, the thing fits really, really nice. If you notice right here, the grooves in there fit very nicely over the brush guard. So, all right, onward to the next step, where I drill the holes and bolt it on. All right, before I move on, I just wanted to show you what we're upgrading from. This was mounted onto my front hitch, connected to a 12-volt battery, which, as you all know, the Blazer is 24-volt. Has two batteries, two 12 volts. This is only connected to the front battery. And it has a little 12-volt connection on the bumper there where it's easily connected. So I could always use it again if I really wanted to, but that's not my goal. It's a super winch, 8,500 pound. I upgraded the hook to a 14,000 pounder. And it was very reliable. Pulled out a number of people with it. And, you know, it's had its day. Now, the good thing about this is that I also have a connection on the rear of the Blazer where I have a hitch mount as well. So if I ever go, you know, four-wheel driving somewhere, I could always mount this on the back and have a winch on the front and the back, which, of course, you know, is pretty optimum. In any event, here's the box that the winch mount came in. Again, the guy does some good work. He even stenciled the box, CUCV winch, and that's what the mount came in. And this is what the Sherpa box came in. It comes in from Australia. Again, it's about $1,000. Very reasonable. Much cheaper than the Warn winch I have. In fact, when I get my M1009, I'm going to put one of these on. I'm going to put the 25,000 pound on. But this is, like I said, 24 volt. And we got the 45 meter line. And I like regular cable. I'm not a big synthetic rope fan. I like the regular cable. I think it lasts longer. It may not be as strong. Who knows? I don't really subscribe to that either. But in any event, this is 24 volt. And for those of you familiar with how voltage works, this will draw half the current that a 12 volt winch would draw. So that's one of the reasons why I went to the 24. Well, that is the reason why I went to the 24 volt. It'll draw half the current, which means it won't work as hard. It won't draw as much amperage from the battery. And I think it's all around a nice little upgrade. So just wanted to explain that before I move onward. All right, so I'm ready to mark all of the holes that I have to drill. And you see right there, some of the holes there, some on the side, right there. And then I put my braces on each side to make it a little stronger. And I'm going to give you a straight on view here. If you notice, it's a little crooked on this side. And a lot crooked on this side. Okay, so that's why I have the jack. So what I'm going to do is I rig this up right here. And I'm going to jack up this side first so that I can at least make the holes so that it's straight. All right, let's see if that did it. Much better. Okay. I could definitely live with that. So I'm going to do that on each side. All right, and I'm not going to spare you the pain of watching me do each side. But the other thing I wanted to discuss is, since this is a 24 volt, I have to run a negative cable from the winch motor, negative side, which is going to be right around here, and I have to run it all the way to the back into that bus right there. There's a cover on it, that black cover you see. So I have to have a cable long enough to go all the way through. But if you can see right here, there's a hole where actually that hole was not there before. It happened to be a punch out, sort of like the things that you see on electrical boxes where you can punch out a hole. This was plugged up and it had like little tabs on it, and I happened to notice it because I was worried about having to drill through the front wall here, but I didn't have to. So basically, I'll see if you can see it in the front. You probably can't, but maybe you can. You see that hole? It's a nice big hole that you can run cable through. So I'm going to use 4/0 cable to run for the negative side. The reason why I'm running 4/0 is because you're running probably about 6-7 foot from the front, so I want to make sure there's enough current going through to the negative side, or enough current in the system so that everything runs through nice and easy. The winch came with a 2/0 cable, but it's not long enough. But I happen to have a 4/0, and I'm going to just make with my hydraulic press there a 4/0 cable on each side, and with a 3/8 stud or connector, and I'll just connect that to the motor. So alright, so I'm going to mark all the holes and then get ready to drill. Alright, so all of the holes are drilled, as you can see. Those are all 3/8. And then these right here, they're a half. You want them a little bit bigger. That's what the bolts are, a half on the top and 3/8 everywhere else. So next thing is to paint the mount. It's already kind of primed, but I want to get a coat of black on there because I don't know when I'm going to get around to repainting the blazer fully, but I at least want some kind of protection on there. So that's the next thing. Then I'm also going to paint the brush guard as best I could. And it'll be just spray paint, you know, some, I guess you call it high performance spray paint. And I'll spray it black. We'll see how it comes out. And next thing after that will be, you'll see the black mount after painting, and you'll see me start to put in all of the bolts, and that's going to be interesting. I'm hoping that they'll all line up. I don't see why they wouldn't. I think the ones on the bottom are probably going to be the most challenging because it's tough to reach in there, and we'll see what happens. Okay, the only other thing I wanted to show everybody was this 1/2-inch drill bit that I originally had a pilot point like this. Alright, and I'm trying to get it to focus. It's not focusing great. There it is. A pilot point like this, and I made it into a 135-degree angle with a split head. Alright, so let me see if I get a... There we go. Alright, so what I did is I used my Drill Doctor 750X, and I'm so impressed with that thing that I'm going to make a video on how to do that, because the pilot point bits from DeWalt, I'm not a big fan, and they were really old, number one. So basically I grinded down that tip and then used my Drill Doctor to make a 135-degree angle. Alright, so it worked really well, and I'm actually going to do it to all of these right here. I'm going to get rid of all of those pilot points because these are really old bits. They're chewed up. I mean, they're a mess. And I'm going to make them into brand new. So the 1/2-inch bit that I created drilled right through it. It was absolutely phenomenal. I saved me a trip to the hardware store to get another drill bit, and who would have known if that would have worked. In any event, just wanted to show everybody that before I move forward. Here's the mount bolted in. You can see all the bolts. At least I hope you can. So right there, all over there, on the bottom. Those are the ones that I sheared off. I put some new ones. So now what's left is putting the actual winch on and wiring it up. It shouldn't be too bad. I just have to make one negative wire that'll run from the winch all the way to the back where I showed you earlier. That back bus with all the negatives. That's... You hook it up there, and then the positive to the positive battery terminal, and you get 24 volts. Alright, so next is the winch. Here's the Fairlead mounted on by a local welding shop. They did a pretty good job. As you can see here, there's a lip right on the bottom right here. So the Fairlead is too wide to mount it flush against this back panel here, so they had to put a spacer in between to make it actually flush and vertical, and they did it pretty nice. They did the entire, they went around the entire gap there, as you could see on the right here. And then on the left, you can see all the way down, hopefully. Maybe you can't, but it's all the way down. And it came out really well. I'm really pleased with it. They only charged me 40 bucks for it, too, so very reasonable. And it'll be a lot stronger than having bolts on it, and a lot cleaner. So, especially with a 17,000-pound winch, I think it'll provide that added strength, especially when you're pulling on angles. The next thing is going to be actually mounting the winch and then wiring the solenoid to the winch and to the battery. And I think the next challenge would be finding a good spot for the solenoid where it's kind of protected, yet close enough so that the wires can easily be connected. Okay, if you see right here, I'm gonna have to cut this cable. The cable is way too big. We got the 148-foot cable, and it seems that they didn't leave enough room to actually let it reel in and have a little bit of space. So if you notice, like right here, it sticks out from the end right here. It sticks out further, and that doesn't allow these holes to line up. So what's happening is the cable is rubbing up right against here and right against here. So I have to cut probably, I'd say, about 15 feet of the cable in order to get this to work. So I'm guessing it's going to be this first row right here, and then I should be okay. But it's a real hassle because now I'm going to have to get a safety clamp to re-loop the cable so that I can put my hook on. So I'm not really happy about this, and I will be contacting Sherpa for the future so that nobody else gets screwed on this. Alright, so I'll let you know what happens from there. This may take a while. So I'm going to try and illustrate here. I couldn't even pull this cable with the winch disengaged out, even when I put the hook on, and see why. This thing is like packed in there. I don't know how they got it in here. I really don't. Very, very aggravating. So I have to continue pushing this cable through and unraveling it until I get it so that there's enough room there. Alright, I'm going to continue, and I'll come back and then we'll cut it again. I had to cut it twice to get the loop off, and then once again when I unravel it enough. Alright, after much hassle, I finally got the winch in. You can see it bolted from the bottom. I actually put a toughy lock on there on one side, and I did one of those factor 55s on the other side right there. Alright, and then the two front ones are regular, and I had to put some washers because I had to widen the holes. They're not exactly standard mounting holes, just in case you guys go ahead and buy a Sherpa. It's not, but they're cool looking. So you see right here the cable I had to cut, and I had to end up cutting about 50 feet off. You see that wasted cable right there? It really peeves me. I actually got one of my bolt cutters stuck on that. I'm going to have to unstick it. You see there's really not much space to spare right there. It's the same in the back as well. But it fits and it looks good. You see right here, I can put my finger through here right now so that when you do use it, these things don't roll up, you know, nice and neat like it's rolled up right here. So you got to leave a little space in there. So that's why I had to cut it. So I got about 100 foot, maybe a little less. I mean, that's fine. Let's see. Okay, so I created a cable, battery cable, with my hydraulic press for the end terminals, and I have a weather protected from the weather right here, and that's going to go over there. So I'm going to start wiring the solenoid next, and I'll get back. I have to figure out a place to mount the solenoid, which shouldn't be too bad, but we'll see how that goes. Everything on this project has been pretty custom, so far so good, and I'll get back to you guys. Well, I mentioned that I had to wire up the solenoid, and as it occurs, I had to take the positive battery terminal, the terminal that connects to the positive battery of the engine system in the Blazer, off, because it's not long enough. I have to mount it, and I'd forgotten about this. I had thought originally you can mount to the positive part of the 12-volt battery here, and it would have fit, but I haven't wired a 24-volt electrical outlet in a while on this thing, so really what I need to do is mount one to right here, the positive, and then the negative is going to go right here on the bottom. You see positive and then negative on the bottom. So I needed a longer cable. So no, not a huge deal. Took a trip to Tractor Supply to get it. Luckily they had it, so I don't have to wait around, and I'll just have to make the cable with my hydraulic crimp. Maybe I'll show that next, how that works. So I just wanted to show my hydraulic crimper, and you can get them off Amazon probably for about $100, and it comes as a kit in a hard shell case, and it comes with different crimp sizes, and I have a reference chart that will tell me which crimp size is for what specific wire gauge. And this gauge right here is 4 gauge, and I happen to know from my chart that it's number 25 millimeters. So what we have to do is put these 25 millimeters in the slot here, one that way and one on top, so it's going to sandwich it in between, as you can see. And you put your stopper in there. This thing has an on-off switch, where off obviously releases the hydraulics, and then on enables it. So what we're going to do is we're going to already splice the wire. I'm going to put this terminal on there and crimp it. I'm going to put the camera down here. And what I do is I put this inside the crimps, and then I kind of squeeze down on it a little bit until it catches. I don't crimp it, because then this makes it so that that the wire, you can hold it in there while you're crimping. Okay, there we go. So now it's kind of tight right there. And then I can put the wire in there, the cable, and hold it in there, and it stays nice and tight while I crimp it down. It doesn't really take a lot to do, but I keep it on the floor so that you don't have to, you at least have some leverage with it. And that should do it. You release it. And there's your crimp. So next we'll do some heat shrink. All I do is take my barbecue lighter. You should always use heat shrink to protect the wire from elements as well as from yourself. There you have it. Perfect crimp. Now just wire it up to the solenoid and we're good to go. Alright, so we have it all wired up now. And let me tell you what we did. We have a small or short positive wire that comes from the solenoid, and we have two black wires. One, this yellow terminal goes on this side, the black goes on this side, and again that goes back to the solenoid. We have like a grounding wire that goes to the negative side of the motor, and this big monstrosity of a cable is the negative cable to the battery, and that on the CUCVs gets for 24 volt. If you want 24 volt, you got to put one. That's the you see the copper right there, that's the negative, and then the positive side is this is the one I lengthen that goes up top, so that gives me 24 volt, and I checked it with my multimeter, so I made sure. So I'm not putting 12 volt through this thing and blowing it. I have my controller, and that, by the way, that positive side terminal goes into here. I had to, that's the one I lengthened, and you saw it all apart. So, alright, so here we go. Very simple controller. I really like it. I have a wireless one on my F-150, and it's, you need like rocket scientist background to figure it out, but after a while you do. Alright, this one's very simple. In is the white and out is the black. So we're going to try in first. There we go. And out. Oh, let's see, you didn't see that. In. Yep, there you go. Out. Alright, you can see the cable go back and forth there. So everything is working as it should. The last thing I need to do is figure out how to mount the solenoid here. I believe it goes on top. They give you some kind of mounting equipment to mount it on here, on these braces or guards, whatever you want to call them. So I'm going to figure that out and let you know what I did, because it's really not that intuitive. There are no diagrams of it. I couldn't find anything online. The videos that I saw are not that detailed. So one last thing, you see engage and disengage, and I have it in engage. So if you want to free spool it, you just turn it up like this, and I should be able to pull this thing. Let's see. I probably got to engage and then try it again. I don't have a hook on it. I can't pull it with one hand, and it's really you know, pretty tight in there. But I'll try that another time. Not working for me right now with one hand. I tried it earlier and it did work, but I couldn't get it with one hand. Alright, so I'll mount the solenoid and get back to you. Here's the mount on top of the Sherpa winch, and it was not easy at all. I had to use these braces that come with it, and they're not really very easy to figure out. I had to get longer bolts right here that go up through the solenoid, through the brace, through the plate that the solenoid mounts on, and into these little slots right here. There's slots where bolts go through, and it's the same way on the back. It's just easier to show you from the front. I got stainless bolts. I had to drill through the plate and through the brace because the brace does not line up, and I'm probably doing something wrong here, but I just could not figure it out for the heck of me. So I just did it the way that I thought would work, and this will work. The other thing I had to do is I had to drill holes in the front here. There were some holes, but they weren't big enough, and I put, see how these this brace just goes straight down. It don't wrap around like the other side. You see how the other side wraps around? It doesn't wrap around because you wouldn't be able to get them on there. So it just goes straight down. But the question would be, okay, it goes straight down, but really it's just gonna come up because there's nothing to brace it to the little crossbar here. So what I did is I drilled bigger holes. I got stainless wing nuts, and the wing nuts are just sitting under there, tightened, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's pretty tight. It's really sturdy. It works. There's no cable in the way. I tried it, so I'm satisfied with it. And I don't have to worry about rust again. I hate rust, especially in Vermont. The last thing I have to do is this cable, and I'm going to attempt it one more time. I've tried it before. I ended up buying on Amazon a oval sleeve crimper, and in looking at the oval sleeves, I ended up getting a stainless one. Well, that was a big mistake because the crimpers, for the most part, especially ones that are 3/8 inch, I can't find one that's made to crimp a stainless sleeve. But I ended up getting a stainless sleeve instead of an aluminum one because, again, I think, you know, stainless is obviously a lot stronger, and it proved to be because the crimper actually bent. It did not crimp. So I'm going to try it with my hydraulic crimper that you saw earlier, that I use for my battery terminals, and hopefully I don't bust that. If I do, it's not all that much money, but I'm going to try it. I saw some guy on YouTube do it, so I'm hoping that that's going to work, and I'll try it in a little bit, and then I'll let you guys know how it goes. Take care. So the hydraulic crimper worked. I didn't really want to film it because it took probably about 30 minutes for me to do this, but if you notice here, I have a stainless protector there. I forget what they call those stupid things. I'll show you what it looks like. So it came out pretty good. I'm pretty comfortable with this. I kind of eyeballed it on how my truck, my F-150 crimp is, and this one actually looks a little bit better. An F-150 is an aluminum. This is stainless, so this is pretty tight. I do not think this is going anywhere. I started out with 150 millimeter and ended with 120, and I was able to get all the way down on the 120, and I even used a little lever bar from a DirecTV satellite post. It was laying under the apartment complex here, and I just disassembled the post and did it. Use this as a lever, so I was able to really crank down on it, and this thing worth its weight in gold. It was 50 bucks. I highly recommend everybody get one of these things. They're like, you know, totally worth it. So now we have everything stainless. Last thing I'm going to do is put on the Epic winch hook. Alright, here's the finished product. We have the Epic hook on there. I'll give you a close-up of that. This is the 18,000 pound strength, so I have enough strength to do just about anything that I need to do. So I'm excited about that. I had to cinch down the oval sleeve a little bit more with my hydraulic battery terminal press, and that was because it wouldn't fit in between the Fairlead and it wasn't very clean. I wanted the hook to be right up against that Fairlead there. It makes it a little harder to steal, and it just looks a lot nicer, and I'll be able to do something with the cover. I'm going to have to do custom cover work. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I'm going to probably take a couple covers and take them to a tailor and see what they could do. A couple tips if you have to go through this kind of install on your CUCV. Realize that the holes do not match for Sherpa winches with regular standard US winches like a Warren. So you're going to have to drill them out, and drilling through metal is not fun. I'll also say get the extra battery cable length already pre-installed by Sherpa. I think it costs $100 or so, but it'll avoid you having to make any terminals to connect it to 24 volt. If you're 12 volt, you're no problem. You just connect it to the front battery. But if you have a CUCV and you have 24 volt, why not do 24 volt? Because it takes half of the current, right? So you should get a 24 volt if you're going to put it on a CUCV. Other thing is, when you order it, do not order the extended cable, the 150 footer, because it will not fit. I had to cut 50 foot of cable off, and I was not happy about that. I spent an extra $100 for that, and it was a real hassle cutting the cable as well as cinching it down with a stainless sleeve. Came out a lot nicer than the stock, but nevertheless, I would say don't get it. If you do have to cut for whatever reason, even if you're just fixing a line, I recommend you have a Dremel, and I'll show you what I used eventually. And it's really, really slick. It really is. It's a diamond wheel, and it cut right through, and it makes a nice clean cut. So just a little tip if you're cutting cables. It makes it so much simpler. I mean, it took me literally 2 seconds. Alright guys, I appreciate it. Take a look, and if you like it, please click the like button, subscribe, and comment. Vermont Prepper out.